I was gonna say, I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this next one.
Yeah.
As Everything Unfolds have dropped their sophomore album, Ultraviolet. The follow-up to top 10 album of 2021, Within Each Lies the Other. However, this one, I was not nearly as anticipated for, surprisingly. This is another one of those albums that I feel like it kind of came, and my hype wasn't fully there for some reason. Given that I loved Ultraviolet and Flipside as two of my favorite singles of the first 2 months of this year. Maybe it was just that Slow Down didn't leave a huge impact on me. But when I was done with this first album listen, I didn't enjoy it as much as I felt about Within Each Lies the Other. I remember the first time I heard that debut album and I was blown away, and I was not blown away to the same extent when I first heard this album. However, the more I listened to this album, the more I was kind of able to piece things together. The very vague concept is about how with ultraviolet light, you can see things that you don't normally see type of thing, like uncovering some of the hidden secrets. So this album gets a little bit more personal. And I think you really start to notice it in songs like Ultraviolet and Felt Like Home in Flipside. I've already talked about a lot of those songs in previous episodes. But Flipside is... I really like that song. The lyricism connects to me about like overthinking and living life on the flip side of like, well, there's a very simple way to process. Like for normal people, it's like there's a very simple way to process information, but then my brain will just like take it and be like, what about this really unrealistic option? That's probably the most realistic one, right? That's me. And that's what Flipside is about. And I love it. And it's also straight into my I'm fucking pissed playlist. And I love it for that. You also get a really awesome interlude to help the pacing of this album with Infrared, leading into Flipside, which I think is great, especially as Flipside is it is the shortest song on this album. Again, I really feel like it helped set the pace for this album. You also get a reference to their debut album on Rose Bouquets in the first verse where it says, "It is without error, certain and most true. What lies within me also lies in you." Which I thought was a really cool little reference. Twilight feels super reminiscent to their past material and was one of the standouts for me on first listen. But the true standout for me is All I've Ever Known, the closer to this album, my favorite album closer of the year, and potentially at this point, my favorite song from As Everything Unfolds, period. That song, when I've been hinting throughout the rest of this episode that songs with guitar solos tend to be some of my favorite songs of this year, I was subtweeting All I've Ever Known at that point. Because my God, the guitar solo that comes in after the first verse, I transcended when I heard that, dude. It's like, for the most part, you get that guitar solo as the bridge before the final chorus, but throwing that guitar solo after the first chorus with like, kind of like, very faint delivery of All I've Ever Known before the drums start kicking and then you get the guitar solo and, it sends me on an emotional roller coaster. The chorus is also an absolute anthem. Humbling my mistakes, remedy I crave. I wish I didn't need to know better. Leaving space to grow, all I've ever known. Particularly that last part of leaving space to grow and didn't need to know better. If you go through this whole album and describing all these more personal thoughts of the band members and Charlie, who presumably wrote more of this album, I don't know for certain. But that mindset of, I wish I didn't need to know better, and also like leaving space to grow, it's like, I don't know, those two lyrics really connected with me. And being related to the title track of All I've Ever Known, like leaving space to, like, I wish I didn't need to know better. It, like, is all I've ever known, like that phrase kind of just, it hits home to me. And then this album closes out, the final lyric of this album is just, to make me feel again. And it's just, there's a lot of emotion packed into this album if you're willing to dig into it. And it didn't connect with me when I first listened to it, but the more I listened to the songs on this album and I started to piece together the picture, I think there's a lot to enjoy here. I still do not think it is as good as Within Each Lies the Other, but I do think that this is an incredible album. And for fans of female-fronted post-hardcore bands, and you're not listening to As Everything Unfolds, you're doing something wrong.
Man, after that, I don't want to say this, but it's too British for me.
What the? Actually, you know what? I said shit was too German earlier. I can't talk. Can we just hate Europeans? Is this a psyop by Jacob to make us less?
Well, I'm like the
Canada?
number one Deep Token enthusiast. Come on.
Well, no, I'm saying we're redirecting the Canada hate to Europe.
You're
trying to take the attention away.
In the Europe.
Actually, isn't that the whole thing that they're not in the Europe?
Yeah, in the Europe. That's what I was trying to say. They're not in Europe anymore.
I think that this is way better than why am I blanking? Jake, the name of the album.
Other?
Yes. When I heard that album, I didn't save anything, and I thought this band is going to put out an album that I am going to enjoy next time. And they did. I really like this. I think that it definitely starts off with I think the last 3 songs are the best. And I think that the first 3 songs are also very good, and the middle kind of falls flat, and that's what leaves me wanting more from this album. But with that said, I mean, this is like leagues better. And there were points on, even with saying that the middle falls flat, there was never a point on this album where I was bored. And I still don't feel like, I know it's only, 37 minutes or something like that, but I don't think that it feels its runtime at all.
It definitely went by very fast.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a testament to how good and engaging this album is. I definitely think that this is going to be the one, maybe in a couple months from now. I just have this feeling that there's going to be a song on here that blows up and their monthly listeners are going to skyrocket. I really think that there's going to be something here that puts As Everything Unfolds into that larger conversation. Maybe not in the same way as like a Spirit Box or like Wage War or anything like that, but this kind of post-hardcore metalcore blend. I think they are on the same track as Future Palace in terms of maybe 5 years from now, we are going to see them paving the way for the next upcoming bands, honestly, in this genre, because they're doing a lot of things right and they're doing it very early in their career. Also, shout out the Purple Aesthetic. I know we've said it when they were doing the singles and stuff, but it's like, you can't beat Purple as an aesthetic, man.
Black and Purple is such an underrated color scheme.
Yeah, shout out Spirit Box. Woo.
I was about to say, I played this after this album. The Void was the first song that came on. So Spotify knows what's up. They're purpling me out. It's my favorite color, though, so I can't complain.